So, it's another edition of our cybersecurity mentoring group, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. This is our second edition for this month, and we've been doing this for quite some time. So the platform is where we bring professionals and experienced professionals to share, and then we learn from them, and then we connect. It's a chat, it's a conversation to share from the experience of people who have been there, who have done this, and so that we don't make the mistakes they made and we can be better. And I hope that you're doing okay wherever you are joining us today. Thank you for setting this time aside to join us for today's edition. We will be fast because I think our time also is running, and we go through this intro just to keep you aware in case you are joining us for the first time. This is probably the 11th or so edition of this program, or 12th edition of this program. We've invited professionals from different industry and different countries to come share with us their thoughts, and they've been kind enough to honor it without any hesitation. First is that we have so far almost done with our cybersecurity skills and competencies and certifications publication. We've looked at about 2,000 jobs, and we want to be able to, bring out insights from what employers are looking for. Hopefully this year we'll be able to publish the second edition. We did this first edition last year, and I believe that it's been quite helpful for people who are looking for the next certification to pursue. We also have opportunity for cyber researcher individuals that would like to hone their skills and take up assignment or task and then come share with us. We have cyber scribes, people who like to maybe type or just type, summarize the event of the day and then share with everyone. So today, without much ado, I reached out to Saheed because I observed that in the industry currently, a lot of people are interested in GRC. So I reached out to Saheed if he would like to just share with us, and he was glad to honor our invitation. Thank you so much, Saheed, for honoring our invitation. We will make this quick. I will just thank you so much. I just go through Saheed's profile. I've told him that I will just read a little, then we will ask him. I will take up the conversation from there. So Saheed is a GRC expert, and in fact, he was telling me that he is actively involved in this activity for different organizations. So Saheed's expertise cuts across different management systems. In fact, Saheed probably will be the second person that I've seen this number of ISO certifications. The first was, coincidentally, they're also friends. Omon, one of the guests we've also invited. So Saheed experience cuts across management systems as lead implementer and also lead auditor for ISO 9001, 27001, 45001, 22301, 27005, 27002, 27017, and 27032. So from business continuity to cybersecurity to information security to quality management system, you can all find that with Saheed. So Saheed is also a certified trainer with also experience around governance, information security governance, data privacy, compliance risk, IT governance, the NIST, and the ISO 31000, the COBIT of this world. I will pause there and I will just welcome Saheed. And Saheed, thank you for honoring our invitation and welcome to Cybersecurity Mentoring Group.
Yeah, thank you, Wale. Thanks for having me. Good evening, everyone. Well, depends on what part of the world you are. Probably good morning, good afternoon. All right, good day, everyone. All right, thanks for having me. It's when you sent the first message and I went through, saw what you've done, And I think I love the idea. That's why it didn't take me too much to say, yeah, this is what I would want to be a part of. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much. So we try to, so before we get into the conversation of the day, we try to go back to learn from the experience of our guests. So because we have quite a number of people who are thinking of cybersecurity. I don't know why, but some people have heard that they pay a lot of money in cybersecurity. So, so cybersecurity looks very attractive, which is fine. But some of them don't know how to start.
Yeah.
And therefore we try to get a view into the experience of our guests and say, okay, how did you start your journey into cybersecurity? Did you start off as a cybersecurity, or you start off in a different role? And how did you navigate that transition?
Okay. Thank you very much. So I would say increase. What's that term now? Curiosity. Yeah, curiosity led me here. If I may start that way. Over time, I've always been that kind of person. That kind of personality to want to learn, what are the new areas of life, whether in learning. I was telling a friend last week that a huge part of my life I've been hopping, right? When it comes to career, when it comes to study, I'm that hopper, right? I get easily bored, right? So if I do one thing for too long, so I'm always that curious person. It didn't start with cybersecurity. In fact, it didn't start with computer science. It didn't start with information security. I studied microbiology, right? So I have a degree in microbiology. I've also done a master's in health, safety, and environment. So basically, it started around that line. But the truth is, like I said, curiosity. The early days of computer, that interest in computer, the internet had always been there. I remember those early times. Did courses in ethical hacking, did courses in Active Directory, courses in I think it was MCITP, we used to call it then, Microsoft Certified Information, IT professional. That curiosity had always been there. But the truth is, I've not always been, or I've never really been fascinated about the technical aspects, of the computer or of information, IT generally. I've always been personally, I've always been more of a person who wants to share ideas, share knowledge, help systems become better, help people become better. So I'm a trainer. I've been training probably since around 2004, thereabout. When I was a member of Junior Chamber International during my university days, top trainer, travel African countries. So, so that's part of me, I'd always been. So I've been more fascinated about helping people achieve, helping organizations achieve. So I think over time, that also aligned and keyed into my desire around, governance, risk, and compliance, because basically governance, risk, and compliance is more around that aspect. So I think I'll put it this way. So GRC for me is an alignment between who I am, right? And that desire around, computers, information, IT, and all of that. So I think GRC helped me to find that nexus between that personality and, like I said, it was microbiology, right? Studying microbiology. I've always been, that's a biological science kind of person. But that interest in computers had always been there from the advent. Now, when the IT information security age, now let me put it that way, that global, there was this time when there was a global upsurge, right, around information security, cybersecurity. I think that was also when my interest to now align myself around information security, cybersecurity now also sprung up again. And of course, because of my personality, I think the area that I fitted and I found myself fitting most was governance, risk, and compliance. So I'll say for anybody who has that desire in helping people helping organizations achieve objectives, helping organizations identify risk. GRC is it for you. So I think that was the nexus between my personality and my interest professionally.
Thank you, Saheed. I think I like this aspect where you're able to find something that I can say leverage your competence and your native intelligence, because I try also to tell people that cybersecurity is a very broad discipline.
Yeah, it is.
And you need to find something that you are good at, right? True. And also particularly people that have experience in other areas and are thinking of cybersecurity. They just need to layer cybersecurity on what they are doing. And that's exactly. I think that's what you're doing. And when you mentioned JCI, your public engagements, your speaking, your training would really, really, and thanks for helping us identify that actually should be, should look inward for you to be able to identify something that you want to do. Now, so I have seen that GRC looks like, so there's this joke we normally crack in university, that when people are looking for admission and they can't get admission, they go to education or agriculture. Because those two courses, they have very high admission rates, right? Now, right or right, but now GRC seems to be the entry point for most people. Now, I just want to break it down in terms of what exactly is governance, risk, and compliance. Compliance. Well, some people say compliance, governance, risk, and compliance. When it comes to the discipline of cybersecurity, what exactly is it?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Wale. So GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, is actually broader than, probably take it from the top, then bring it down to IT, information security, cybersecurity. GRC is actually broader than cybersecurity and information security, because basically all organizations, right, are governed by policies, are governed by a set of rules, frameworks, laws, right? So every organization has documented procedures. They have policies. So whether it's in human resources, whether it's in sales, whether it's in finance, every aspect of organization has the need for governance. Same thing with risk management. Every organization has that need for risk management. So either it's third-party risk management, vendor risk management, information security risk management, cybersecurity risk management, financial risk management, anti-fraud, anti-money laundering issues. So that aspect of risk is also a part of every organization, every department or unit or processes within an organization. Same thing with compliance. Compliance is also, that aspect, it cuts across. So there's financial compliance, there's marketing, compliance related to marketing, advertising, and things like that. So when it comes to GRC, I always try to let people see first that you are going to be dealing an aspect that, cuts across every aspect of an organization's business. So if you're coming into GRC or governance, risk, and compliance, you have to open yourself up and know that you're not going to be limited. In most cases, I'm a consultant, right? I've worked with a lot of organizations. I can tell you easily that during my consulting, during audits, you touch across every facet of a business, every unit and department and organization. So that's on a broad scale. Now, bringing it back to information security or cybersecurity. Now, all organizations now have or are governed by a set of policies and rules. So that's where governance comes in. So when it comes to cybersecurity or information security, organizations have to set up, have to define, sets of policies, procedures, frameworks that would determine how the business is run. In this case, in relation to information security or cybersecurity, right? So that's the governance aspect. So then there's the risk management aspect. Like we said earlier, every organization has to identify risk, have to assess risk, have to monitor risk, have to treat, and manage risk. So in this case, as a GRC professional, you'll also be involved in risk identification, risk assessment, risk management, risk treatment, probably in relation to cybersecurity and information security. So that's the risk aspect. Then there's the compliance. All organizations are bound by certain, either their internal policies or external legislation, regulations, international standards like the ISO standards, NIST frameworks, and things like that. So all organizations are bound by certain rules, guidelines, policies, and regulations that they have to comply with. So as a GRC professional, this basically is the, let me say, the pots of soup, right? With all the condiments and, that you would have to deal with. First is help the organization to set up their governance framework, their policies, their principles, their visions, their objectives as it relates to cybersecurity and information security. Then you'd also be ready to be involved in risk management, from risk assessment, risk identification, to risk treatment, right, up to risk management. Then you'd also have to help the organization to identify compliance requirements, and you'll be responsible for ensuring your organization meets compliance requirements for information security, cybersecurity, and like I said earlier, all areas of compliance. So that's basically what governance, risk, and compliance entails.
Thank you so much for this. I think you pieces the G and the R and the C. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Now there are some myths I believe that exist in this GRC, and I don't know if there are myths that you want to dispel. People believe some things about GRC. One of them that I've heard a lot of people say that I don't want to code.
Okay.
I don't like coding at all. Which area of cybersecurity can I do that doesn't involve coding? Some say I don't like anything IT. I don't like technical things. Which area of cybersecurity can I go into? Yeah. So there are a couple of those kind of things. Do you think, in addition to these myths that I hope that you can help us identify, do you think that GRC is like the entry points, in quotes, the Gbogbo of cybersecurity, in your view?
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks for the question. Yeah, I've heard that too. And the truth is, I've personally also have people who have asked these questions around, cybersecurity is the in thing, information security is the in thing. How can I get into cybersecurity? How can I get into information security and, these areas? It's common, like you said, commonly said that GRC is an easy path, right, into cybersecurity. The truth is, it looks like the easy path because maybe it's not the core tech aspect of cybersecurity, but it's not as straightforward as that. Yes, GRC might not require the deep technical skills on a day-to-day basis, like pen testing, malware analysis, and things like that on a day-to-day basis. But you can't escape. Yeah, that's the thing. You can't escape those technical requirements if you're going to become a GRC expert, a GRC professional. Especially if you want to do, governance, risk, and compliance, for long term, right? You want to be an expert in it. You want to be a professional in it. So that idea that it's is an easy way and would not require, like I said, I consult for different organizations, a lot of organizations. Even as an auditor, as a consultant, I still have to face, I said earlier too, I'm not so much interested in, the coding aspect personally too. But the truth is, I still find myself having to interact with, tools, technical tools. If you're an ISO certified person, for example, organizations have to meet some control objectives and, meet some control requirements. So if you don't have the technical understanding around this around these tools, you would not be able to provide the best ideas, best solutions, for organizations. If you don't have the deep and good technical expertise and understanding, okay, let me put understanding. Expertise might be confusing, right? If you don't have the good, sound technical understanding around these tools, it will also be difficult for you to design policies for them. It will be difficult as a GRC professional to identify the risk and manage the risk around it. So eventually you find yourself having to, become familiar, become knowledgeable around this tool. Yeah, you might not use them on a day-to-day basis, but eventually, whether you like it or not, you will have to understand them. All right. So if you escape the day-to-day usage, having high technical understanding of these tools, eventually you still have to design, your frameworks around them. Your risk assessments will have to also be around them. Your risk treatment methodologies will also have to be framed around these tools. All right. So that's one. And I think another a reason why you would say, a lot of people would say, let me use your term, the Gogwero, GRC is the Gogwero, because GRC is cross-functional, and it's so almost everybody can. So, for example, there's the legal aspect. All right, so people, persons who are trained in who are lawyers, for example, will find a place. There's this training aspect of governance, risk and compliance. So a person who is trained, for example, as a teacher, right, could find a role in GRC. So I think that so when it comes to the financial aspects, to the financial regulations, financial risk management. So GRC, cuts across. It's difficult to do GRC and you won't cut across so many other fields, right? So you deal with the sales persons, you deal with finance persons, you deal with the HR persons. So it makes it also easy for persons in various fields to also find a place in governance, risk, and compliance. But that's where it ends. Once you get in and you have to be professional around it, eventually you would have to also find that you would need the sound knowledge of these technical tools, access control, vulnerability management, penetration testing, all those areas, you still have to interact with them. So the knowledge of those tools will still be there. Some people also say GRC roles are less important compared to technical cybersecurity roles. I think that's not totally true. I always see GRC as the brain of cybersecurity. The reason why I say this is the brain determines what the body does. The hand functions, but the brain determines the function of the hand. The eyes will function, but the brain analyzes the risk that the body faces and will send a message to the necessary part of the body to respond. That's what GRC is about. GRC analyzes the risk, sends the message to the necessary team, right? The IT team, information security team, business continuity team, privacy team, or finance team, HR team, whichever team is responsible to respond. So I think GRC and organizations are beginning to see more and more the importance of GRC. So there's most organizations are now carving that, that role and niche. For a lot of organizations now have their risk department, compliance department, and those kind of units and departments within them. So that means that GRC being the least important or less important is actually not true. The technical guys will only do as far as what the GRC persons or GRC professionals will say, okay, this is what we need. When it comes to compliance, this is what we need. When it comes to this type of risk, right, this is what we need. But when it comes to, these are the policies, and the policies will guide what the technical, the guys at technical aspects will do, right? So GRC is as important as any other areas of cybersecurity or information security. Some persons will also say GRC is about, paperwork. But the truth is, it's beyond that. A lot of GRC analytic tools these days, even tools for designing policies, frameworks, for ensuring compliance. All right, so it's going beyond just paperwork. Right? So for those who are bored with paperwork, you also find that you do a lot of use a lot of tools for risk management, for analytics, right? Data analytics and all of that in GRC, in governance, risk, and compliance. We talked about professionals not needing technical knowledge. Eventually, technical knowledge will catch up with you. That's the truth, all right? So I would always say that as much as you can, also familiarize yourself. If you're going into GRC, also familiarize yourself with as much of those tools, firewalls, encryption technologies, access controls, penetration testing, and those areas. All right, you might not be using them. Again, you might not be using them on a day-to-day basis, but your decisions, your policies, your designing, your risk identification and risk management will also be around these tools. All right, so it's good to, all right. So like I said, it's easy for everybody to find a place in GRC because it requires transferable skills. You must be able to write, you must be able to analytical thinking, able to communicate, analyze risk, identify controls. It's also very broad, right? GRC is kind of broad. You're not limited to just using particular tools or just, so you do a lot of things in governance and compliance. And like I said earlier too, it's cross-functional. So you have to deal with a large aspect of the organization or your company's business. All right. I think those are some of the myths. If there are any others, I could probably speak on them.
I think you've actually spoken well on them. So the one of them really that you explained. In fact, one question came up in the chat room around vulnerability management.
Okay.
If as a GRC professional, let me look at the question again.
Okay.
If as a GRC professional, would you have anything to do with vulnerability assessment? What's your thoughts?
Oh, yes, you have to. All right. You'll have to. Because, like I said, your policy, one of the first things will be, do you have a vulnerability management policy? Who defines the vulnerability management policy? Is the GRC guy or the GRC person? When it comes to vulnerability, a risk around vulnerability, you have to also identify the risk. You have to come up with controls to address the risk. So when it comes to compliance, vulnerability management also comes in, right? So a lot of legal requirements, regulatory requirements around how you identify and manage vulnerabilities within organizations. You have to report on vulnerabilities you've identified. If your company, organization is going to be ISO compliant, you have to deal with vulnerabilities, identify them, and implement appropriate controls. So if you're the GRC person, the tech guys will deal with the tools on a day-to-day basis, whatever tool the organization has procured to deal with identify vulnerabilities and deal with them. But when it comes to the policy aspect, when it comes to the brain, like I said earlier, behind why we're doing what we're doing, as a GRC professional, you will have to guide around that. So there's no way you would not deal with vulnerability.
I totally agree with you. I always believe that you can't govern what you don't understand, right? You necessarily don't have to be an expert, but you must show interest because your policy will make more sense if you have an understanding of what is being done. So my counsel to people who are in GRC that want to ignore some areas is that that's probably where you need to go and develop yourself, because it's an opportunity to grow. All right, let me go into people who are in GRC now.
Okay.
And really, I want you to just, because sometimes people can be bored. They've been doing GRC, probably they've been doing it in one particular way. Now, from your experience, you have seen GRC as a consultant. You must have seen GRC in different sectors. You have seen GRC in different countries. You have seen GRC with small, with medium, and with large organization. You have seen GRC where there's regulatory enforcement or regulatory requirement or regulated industry. So there are different areas that you have looked at GRC. And I want you to speak to people who are in GRC. What more do you think they can do to become relevant? You know, one of the things you said in around the myth is that GRC is less important. Now, so it may be the feeling they've gotten from business or from people they work with, and they think that you guys are just writing documents. Now, what more do you think a GRC person can do to be more relevant to their organization?
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, truth is, cybersecurity, information security, and of course, governance, risk, and compliance, which is a subset of this area, it's not just it's not supposed to be in a silo, right? So you get tired, you get bored if you treat GRC as existing in a silo. What I mean is, see it as a business partner. See GRC as contributing to the organization's overall objectives. So if we do GRC cybersecurity for the sake of just cybersecurity, that's when it looks like, you know, it's too routine. Now, but if you begin to see GRC as contributing to business, for a person in GRC, I always say that a person in GRC has higher chances of getting into the C-suite, upper management, than the core technical aspect. A core technical person probably, you know, so I hope I won't be offending, you know, anybody. A core technical person probably CISO, right? But the truth is, because of the governance aspect, because you would be as a GRC person, right? Because you're already sitting with the steering committee, right? People who come up with the ideas, who come up with the policies. It's easy to, so if you're already positioning yourself at such level, so when you're providing ideas, when you're providing concepts to the company, you're providing based on helping organization, the company solve critical, you know, business issues, not just information security issues, like I said earlier, core business-related issues. I think that would also help, you know, and that provides more of an opportunity to scale, you know, to scale up than just seeing governance, risk, and compliance as just information security or cybersecurity. All right. So then there's also the world is ever changing. So I think for a GRC professional, if you're already in the field, there's always newer challenges, like almost every day. So now we're talking AI, right? There's, you know, there are aspects, artificial intelligence. There's need for, you know, risk management in artificial intelligence. You probably have to also develop governance frameworks in artificial intelligence. You also have to, most countries and most regions of the world are now coming up with regulations and, you know, frameworks, guidelines around artificial intelligence. You also have to upskill yourself in that area. So there's artificial intelligence, there's Internet of Things, IoT. All right, so there will be also need to upskill around, you know, GRC when it relates to Internet of Things, machine learning, and all those newer areas. So the truth is, by the time you are blinking, there's a new guideline, there's a new legislation. There's, you know, the world of information security, the world of the internet is ever changing. So I always say, challenge yourself and what's the latest aspect and how can I key into the newer aspect. So if you're already a professional in the field, the next question is, okay, so what is the growing, the in-team, the newest aspect, you know, when it comes to information security, when it comes to the internet, you know, generally, cybersecurity generally. It never stops. It never stops. So, so just continue familiarizing yourself, continue upskilling yourself. All right. I think those would be my recommendations. And don't forget, GRC, always look at the C-suites, all right? So where the actual governance is, it's easy for, I think it's easier for a person in GRC to upskill that way. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. I think the aspect where you mentioned aligning yourself with business and see yourself as a business partner.
Yeah.
GRC is not a policeman.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not policing people, and
exactly.
Because once we are humans, once you think people are policing you, you probably just don't want to deal with them. So it
exactly.
means there's some element of learning how interpersonal relationship is
exactly.
also very important.
Communication,
so communication,
people management, very, very essential. Very essential.
These guys are thinking that you guys will come and just tell us that we are not doing something well. What of the one we are doing correctly?
Exactly.
All right. So I tend to think that GRC itself is a broad knowledge area or a broad domain.
Yeah.
What are those maybe job titles that we could say someone who is in this area can be categorized as in GRC? What are there other, because what you see these days in job vacancy is governance, risk and control, compliance analyst. That's what you see.
Yes.
But are there, without that title of GRC, are there jobs that really fit into GRC?
Okay. Yes, I think there HR people know how to frame some of these titles. But most times, if you're reading and if you're interested in a GRC role, basically, I think away from the job title, also look into the roles or responsibilities, the job requirement. That would also give a very good idea of what the job entails and the links with GRC. But to answer your question more directly, and I've seen job adverts, job requirements mention things around IT governance analyst, IT governance specialist. Those are some titles. Cybersecurity risk analyst, cybersecurity specialist, something like that. I've also seen cyber risk manager, cyber risk officer, enterprise risk manager, compliance officer, right? Or IT compliance officer. That's another area or example I've seen. Internal compliance auditor. So organizations might also want a compliance auditor internally to continually audit their policies, audit their procedures, audit their system, basically, information security and cybersecurity system for compliance. I've seen IT auditor, right? So IT auditors, for example, are competent in ISO 27001, right? NIST with the NIST framework or other such frameworks. So I can say I'm an IT auditor because I do IT audits. I've seen where organizations also talk about data privacy officer. So organizations, for example, who process data, so they'll look for professionals who have competencies in data protection laws, GDPR, and the likes. All right. So data privacy officers. In a broader scale, you might also look at things like fraud prevention officers, fraud prevention specialists. All right. So especially for organizations in the financial sector, they might also be looking governance and compliance experts, that understand, fraud frameworks. Business continuity managers are also, part of governance risk and compliance. Information security officer, GRC consultants. You don't want to be fully aligned. You could also be a GRC consultant or like a person like myself. You could also find roles around ISO auditor, ISO consultants. So those are some of the examples of areas I have seen, right? So like I said, I always say, go beyond just the title. But most times you will always say things around governance, risk and, compliance, cybersecurity compliance, cybersecurity risk manager or risk officer, IT risk analyst, cybersecurity risk analyst, IT compliance specialist or manager. Those are examples of the job roles you most likely would see around governance risk.
But thank you, Pat. It means there's a lot, and I kind of can link this answers it provided. So the previous question around, or the previous suggestion you mentioned and said that GRC is likely to climb, more likely to climb the C-suite because it talks about the entire organization. It's not a narrow scan.
Exactly.
With all of the, sometimes people just think GRC is just when you have the title GRC. They don't think beyond the title. And I think you've been able to break it down for people who are who are currently maybe cyber risk assurance or IT governance. They are in the domain of GRC.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Thanks for that breakdown. Now, I think we are getting to the end of our session. But another question I want to ask is around training and certifications, right?
Okay.
So it appears that this cybersecurity domain, certification is the what's it called now? Certification is that thing that gets you in the room. Certification is what people would see and invite you for a chat.
Yeah, true.
And from your experience, and I want you to talk to people who are young, who are trying to get into cybersecurity and want to go the aspect of GRC. What are those certifications you think they can look at? It could be free, it could be paid, and where can they, are there training, are there certifications that they can look at?
Okay. So like you said, it's in our world now, it's difficult to actually, move without, or even from entry, without showing that you have the training, you have some knowledge around the areas. It applies, same applies with GRC. I'll always say that if you're fresh to cybersecurity generally, you can try, and I've taken a couple of courses. Network Academy, Cisco Network Academy has a wide array of, I think mostly they are mostly free. I know Cisco Networking Academy, NetAcad, has those courses. I've taken a couple of them myself. So if you're starting, fresh into cybersecurity, I always say start with the introduction to cybersecurity, Cisco Networking Academy, introduction to cybersecurity course. It gives you a very good background, right? So you can, by the time you're done with the intro to cybersecurity course, that particular course, I think you'll have a very good understanding. Then from there, you can now think, okay, where exactly do I want to fit in? So Cisco Networking Academy, and it's free. Most of those courses, I believe they are free, has a wide array. So so you'll see courses around cybersecurity essentials, cyber threats management, endpoint security, and there are a couple of them on the Cisco Networking Academy, and I still believe they are free. I know there's also the Certified in Cybersecurity course. I think that's IC squared, right? All right, so they have the Certified in Cybersecurity. I think it's also free. The training is free, except you now want the certification. I think they charge for that. I can't remember how much exactly. But for Cisco Networking Academy, for any new starter in cybersecurity, I'll always say start your learning around there. You get badges, you get certificates. Then I know there are courses on Coursera has a couple of courses. I think most of them are paid. There was one I came across a short while ago, not so long ago. It's around so it's mostly GRC. It's a complete GRC course. All right. It's paid though, but the last time I checked, I think it was about less than 10,000 naira for those in Nigeria. So I think it was around that amount. I don't know if it's still available. It's GRC complete course, governance, risk, and compliance, a complete course. And I think I liked the course, even though it's paid.
Is it on Coursera?
No, I think that's on Udemy, right? Yeah.
Udemy, okay.
Udemy, right. So I think it's around, the last time I checked, it was still below 10,000. It wasn't 10,000 naira, Nigerian naira. So that's also looked like a very good course, but it's paid too. So okay, so Coursera too, I know that a couple of courses on Coursera. I won't say I know very much how Coursera, courses are. I know there are some free ones and some that you have to pay, but there are a range of courses I've seen on Coursera. The GRC approach to managing cybersecurity is one of the courses. Cybersecurity compliance frameworks, standards and regulations also on Coursera. Okay, then for the experts, of course, those who are already in cybersecurity, then you begin to think about I know ISC Squared has governance and compliance certification. It's paid. I see GRC. So then the CSSP courses, those are for those who are already professional. But like I said earlier, I always say start with the Cisco Networking Academy. Please just go to the Cisco website. If you're a new starter, you're interested in anything cybersecurity, it gives you a very good background understanding. All our discussions around, having a technical knowledge, even though you don't use technical tools. If you go through the courses, on Cisco Networking Academy, I think you would, by the time you are done with 3, 4, 5 of those free courses, you have a very good understanding. And they're free. The last time I checked, you're free.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Saheed. I think I will go through the questions. I think I've exhausted my question now. You've answered them. You've answered them excellently well. I'll go through so there are some questions in the chat and I'll just go through them. So someone is asking, he said the course on Udemy, can you have the name of the course? If you can put the name of the course in the chat room, I guess they want to check it out.
Yeah, let me see. I think I got it. Let me see if I'll get the link out.
Okay. Now there's a question still on that vulnerability.
Okay.
So the question is around. So earlier you answered the question on as a GRC person, you still need to be interested in vulnerability management. But the person is asking, isn't vulnerability management the responsibility of the information security team? And I probably want you to maybe look at it and maybe help us understand it this way. I believe there are some things, even though they are technical, there are parts of it that are shared that you have to look at it from governance perspective. So I don't know, maybe that's your perspective around vulnerability. For vulnerability management or vulnerability assessment, which aspect is technical? Which aspect is governance or GRC?
Okay. So when it comes to understanding the range of exposures, right? Range of vulnerabilities and threats that an organization will be exposed to, GRC will come in there. So when it comes to identifying, documenting those threats, vulnerabilities, the range of it from all aspects of the business, either it's from your network resources you're using, either it's from your internet service provider, your endpoint. It could also even be from your third-party vendors, right? So when it comes to that, the range of understanding the range of exposures, when it comes to vulnerabilities and threats that an organization will be exposed to, GRC would have to play a huge part. When it comes to defining policies around vulnerability management, vulnerability assessment, how the organization deals with manages vulnerability. GRC is very, very much involved in that aspect. So when it comes to actually, evaluating the effectiveness of the tools that have been deployed to assess, to identify, to deal with vulnerabilities, GRC will definitely be involved. So when you're doing your audits, for example, right, you have to also audit the vulnerability assessment, vulnerability management part of your operations, of your controls. Now, when it comes to deploying the tools to deal with vulnerabilities, to track vulnerabilities, to manage vulnerabilities, then the core, information security and IT guys would do that. You would understand the range of vulnerabilities. You would also, of course, working with the IT information security team, also think about the best tool, all right? Looking at, the pros and cons of each vulnerability management tool. So when it now comes to the daily operations and, dealing with vulnerabilities, then the IT teams can come in. Then when the oversight, how those tools are deployed and the effectiveness of those tools, assessment of the effectiveness, performance evaluation of those tools, that's GRC. So like I said, if you don't now understand the tool and how it works and how it's supposed to work and configure, it's difficult for you to now say, yeah, it's working fine or it's not working fine. It's difficult for you to audit it. All right.
Thank you so much.
I hope that answers the question.
I hope that helps. Daisy, I hope that helps. That's all that question. So, thank you for sharing the link. I have opened it and it's looking attractive. So there's another question around around ethics. Okay. Is ethics an aspect of GRC? For example, work ethics. So I think person wants to know whether, since you're talking about governance, will ethics come into the space of GRC? That's next question. So we probably have about less than 5 minutes anyway. So there's another question after you answer this one. Okay. All right. So for I said earlier that GRC is expanding. We said GRC is expanding. I remember if some time ago somebody called me up and said, do you deal with, do you certify organizations? Do you audit fraud management? Do you audit anti-whistleblowing? Yeah, whistleblowing. So like I said, GRC is opening up, it's expanding. Same thing, it also relates to ethics. Ethics and compliance are, side by side, hand in hand. So most organizations would have, policies around, ethics. Either it's in financial, either it's in human resources. It could also even be in the use of computers, internet, related ethics. So GRC would be defining those policies. GRC would be defining the procedures around, ethics, either it's in information security, use of the internet, human resources, and all of that. So you see, so that's one of those areas where, and the compliance with those ethics or policies for ethics, procedures, right, would also be the responsibility of the GRC professional. Thank you. The last question I have here is someone asking about GRC outside of cybersecurity. What would GRC outside cybersecurity entail?
Okay, same thing. Governance, risk, and compliance. Organizations would think about financial risk. So if you want GRC out of cybersecurity, you probably are thinking about the financial risk. You could also be thinking about human resources, right? Governance. So like I said in the beginning, GRC is wide, except we now say, okay, we want to talk about, since this discussion is about cybersecurity, the GRC aspect of cybersecurity, that's why we've limited. Every organization would have policies, would have risk, have compliance requirements in almost every aspect of their business. So if your interest is in governance and compliance outside of cybersecurity, it still fits in. Human resources, financial, third party, the supply chain, risk management is also there. Supply chain policies and principles, guidelines are also there. Even in marketing, right? Most organizations would have market policies around marketing, would have risk around marketing, would have compliance obligations around marketing. So that's it. It's a broad area. All right. So even as a cybersecurity GRC professional, you are also interfacing and intersecting with all of these aspects.
Yeah. In fact, I think GRC can actually go to any discipline, right?
Exactly.
Because in every
I think you called it
discipline,
or something earlier. Exactly.
Yeah, in every discipline there's governance.
Yeah.
In every discipline there's risk, and in every discipline there's compliance. So
exactly.
Domesticating it in cybersecurity is now focusing on a subset.
Exactly.
Of the entire body of knowledge of governance, risk, and compliance. Well, I have exhausted my question, and there's none in the chat. And thank you so much. GRC is looking very attractive, actually. It means that if you are tired of cybersecurity, you can actually go to another area. I know. Another area.
I actually think if you worked in cybersecurity, information security, the next thing you should be thinking would be helping develop these policies. So you've done the core operations. The next thing should be help develop policies, help develop cybersecurity, information security objectives, help to manage compliance. Like we said, it's a very easy route to the C-suite.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You've done justice to the topic, and I believe that everyone on the call has gotten one or two things. I would just first thank you so much for honoring our invitation. So the idea is that we will bring an expert in different areas of cybersecurity to come talk to us, and you have actually started that journey. If in case we still have that request tomorrow, probably we'll call you to come and share another. Thank you so much.
Always.
And guys, thank you for joining. Let me go to my slide. Thank you for joining. I believe that you've gotten a thing or two, and you can go to work on Monday if you are in the field or you are considering the field, and you'll be able to take some actions. Just wrapping up on our, so we have another, I think I'm trying to rest for the year, so maybe one in December, because it's a lot of work to getting ready for this. But I'm planning for one in December. So after this call, I'll just reach out to the person, so we can rest for the rest of the year once we do the one for December. Again, you can check up previous editions of the program on our YouTube page, and you will find all of this on the left hand side. You'll find it on the page. We also have a LinkedIn group that you can join if you are interested. We share resources on that page, and also we connect with other professionals. Getting to know other people in the field helps you in one way or the other, because truth sharing, I think it was through something you shared on one network group that we belong to, that I saw contact you. So this sharing things helps in terms of building your network, and I encourage everyone to be part of the conversation. All right, we have come to the end of today, and I wish you a lovely evening, and we will see you again in our next edition. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
thank you,
everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, bye.